Hey guys, welcome back to the Aesthetic Sketchbook Series 6. So today we'll be painting a very simple rainy window piece. First, what I'm going to do is I want to paint the whole background, and I'm using turquoise mixed with cobalt blue and also coal gray. When painting one solid color for the background, I use a flat white brush for easier application. And then to get the frosted window look, once the first layer is dry, I add a thin layer of titanium white on top. Now I want to create a gradient from dark to light, from the top to the bottom. Not too obvious, but subtle enough to be visible. So on the top part, I'm just using cobalt blue, turquoise, and coal gray, and then I add more white in the middle, and then I blend it. Next, I want to draw pine trees in the background. As you can see in my sketch here, it's just like the shape of it, but it's not very defined, and that's how I want it to be. So I'm using Mars black with Prussian blue, and then I'm going to add another bigger tree over here. It looks a bit strange now, but it will start to make sense later, and you just have to kind of trust the process. And then I take a flat white brush and I cover the whole bottom in the same color, but I add deep gray to it to get a frosted window effect. It doesn't look very frosted now, but like I said, you just have to trust the process, and then you will see why later. Once that is done, now we're going to blur these trees in the background. I've actually explained a lot of this process in a couple of other videos, but if you're new here, what you do is you take the color from the first shade, which is the lighter shade, which is the shade of the sky, which will be turquoise and white and pale gray and cobalt, and then you mix that with the darker shade, which would be the Mars black and the deep gray, and then you just outline everything in between in this color and you blend it so that it becomes one gradient. So what I wanted to do is, because if it's out of focus, all you need to do is just get the shape, and the mind will just immediately recognize what it is due to familiarity. So the key to this is to make sure that the original shape of the pine trees, make sure it just looks like pine trees but not too defined, so it'll be easier for you to blur it, and you kind of get this pine tree figures, shadowy pine tree figures in the background. Okay, so for the next step, once this whole blurring thing is done, I want to splatter the whole piece and cover it in micro raindrops. This will speed up the process. So what I do is I just wet the brush in titanium white, and then I take the tip of my finger and I just flick the tip of it and cover the whole thing in like white raindrops. Next, I want to kind of draw these lines from top to bottom to indicate the raindrops falling down from the window. So this is where the gradient earlier comes into play. Remember, from dark to light, because we added white and we added gray over it, so this is how we get the frosted window effect. So for the top part, just use its normal color, which would be turquoise and cobalt blue. And then as we move to the lighter part, use titanium white only, and when we reach the trees, we use solid Mars black. It's really up to you how many trails of raindrops coming down that you want to draw. I'm just doing enough to kind of balance out the whole painting, but not too much because we're going to be adding raindrops as well. Okay, so how do we paint these raindrops? Okay, so first we're going to use the color for the background, and we're going to kind of draw the raindrops. So the background color would be the cobalt blue, turquoise, pale gray, and titanium white. Once you draw the raindrop, at the bottom of the raindrop, add a little bit of, just a dash of Payne's gray, and then you kind of blend it. And at the top of the raindrop, you add a dash of titanium white, and then you blend it. So remember, the dash of gray at the raindrop is actually the reflection of the trees. And then the dash of white on top of the raindrop is actually the reflection of the light. So depending on where your trees are or where the light is, that's where you place the gray and the dash of white. It's also up to you to add how many raindrops you want to, and we are pretty much finished. I hope you find this useful. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys again in the next video. Goodbye.